I'm Mike and welcome to the workshop. Behind me you will see the remains of a full-length mirror that I had in my house until I had to really quickly make a mirror for a show a few weeks ago, and well, I needed mirror glass. So this week I'm going to take all these scraps and make a new mirror. Hopefully you'll learn a few tricks along the way. So let's roll the intro! Here's what remains of this quite nice full-length mirror. It was late and I was not gentle. For the purposes of this video, even though I'm going to basically reuse this to make my new mirror frame, I'm going to treat this as if we were doing it from scratch and explain the basic principles. And the first place to start is with the mirror itself. Now, if you're buying mirror to make a mirror, what I would recommend if you're going to frame it is you get what's known as safety backed mirror. So I just slip this mirror over and you only get to see one of me. You'll see that there's a film on the back of this mirror. What that does is if the mirror falls or it cracks, this film, which is basically just like really wide sellotape, stops those shards falling out and holds the whole thing together. So if you're ordering a mirror and you're going to do this yourself at home, make sure you order a safety backed mirror. I'm going to put this away somewhere safe, but we will be using it in a few minutes. So the next thing you want to think about is the frame. And any mirror frame is going to have a face like this, and this happens to be square, but you can get them much more elaborate. And in the back then you have this rebate. The idea of this rebate then is that the glass comes in here and sits upon the lip that's formed here. Obviously I already have this, but if you were doing it yourself, that's relatively easy to do. If you have a table saw, you just take 2 cuts, or even if you don't, I'll show you here. What you could also do is you could make your frame out of a square piece of stock and then get a face piece and nail that face piece in, creating that rebate. That wouldn't require any additional fancy tools. You can get some really nice slips in hardware stores that would make a really nice front of this, and then the same thing, you can get stock about this size, just tack them together and you have a rebate. So next thing then is size. My recommendation is always make your frame first and then buy your mirror glass, and you want to go 3 or 4 mil smaller on the width and the height just to make sure that mirror glass fits in, and ensure that your frame is square. If your frame is not square, your glass won't fit, because the glass will be cut square. So I'm going to start here by taking all this off the bench, measuring the mirror I have here because I'm reusing it, and then I'm going to remake this frame just that little bit shorter than the glass, the width should be fine because I'll reuse the top and bottom pieces, and then we'll put it all together. So if, like me, you already have a piece of mirror and you don't want to worry about all the calculations you're going to need to do to get that exactly right, here's a little tip. Cut one end of your frame at 45 degrees. Move your mirror down by the amount that you want that tolerance to be. I've moved down by 3 mil here. And then it's a simple matter of marking down at this end where the mirror ends. You can then transfer that 45 to where it needs to be. In this case it's going to come this way. Match those two and your mirror should fit absolutely perfect. That is absolutely fan-dabby-dozy. Now, to cut the other one, the exact same length. You'll see here how I'm checking these. I find this is the easiest way to make sure the two mitered pieces are the same. Just lining up the points either at the front or back and making sure they're bang on. Just like that, we're ready for assembling. Now what I have here happens to be the foam type of frame, which is annoying. And normally these have little honeycombs that go in the corners, but I'll find a different way to support them. And I'm using this. This is a PU adhesive which should stick to these. I'm just going to tack them together on the corners because I'm going to refinish this, so I don't mind these tiny little holes for my headless spinner. And this is the point where taking your time to make sure your saw is set up that your 90s are at 19 or 45s or 45 really pays. There's no messing around with these like there would be with a wooden frame, so the fact that everything is absolutely perfect off the saw means that I don't have to worry about trying to, fill this and get everything square. I will do a video on that at some stage, just how to do that, how to establish it and how to adjust. But needless to say, this turned out really well. Everything was nice and tight. And then just at the end, I make sure to check everything because there's a little bit of play in this. The headless pins do hold it in position, but they give a little bit of wobble. So I check everything with my square just to ensure that those are at 90, and then I just walk away and let it set. She's all dried. It stayed square, but this grey is sort of boring. You have just tiny little pinpricks. So let's change the colour of this, make it look a bit more fancy and expensive. Then all it is, put in the glass, put in the back piece, and we have ourselves a nice mirror. So I give this 2 coats of a really nice gold metallic spray. This has little metallic flecks in it, which means that it shines. It looks really good. I really like using it. And then this project is almost done. But I'll give you a few more minutes of watching grey become gold because it looks really cool. I think we can agree that looks pretty fancy. Now let's put the glass in. Now normally, before I put the glass mirror in, normally I would like to wet glaze these things, which means you're going to beat the silicone all along the inside, bed in the glass, stops it moving around. But the rebit on this is so thin, it'll all just squeeze out. But I will put a little bit just at the top and the bottom of silicone when it's in, just to stop it moving around and rattling. Pretty much just centered, and check my square. There's still a little bit of play in this frame because it's very thin, but that'll do. Now we'll just put a little bit of silicone top and bottom. Now luckily I still have the original back which I've cut down here, and it'll just be a matter of just slipping it in because it's already cut the size. Now as I'm reusing an existing frame, I have these already here. These little toggles that come down and clamp everything in place. But if you didn't have them, I'm going to show you a few very simple ways of doing this. So method one is real old school. What you do is you get a panel pin. So you get your panel pin, you just press it down against your glass or your backing in this case. You just tap that in, that holds everything in place. The alternative is you cut a piece of stock or slip. You push that slip into place, then tack in that slip. So you don't need these handy built-in little bend down things. They just happen to be still here, that's why I reused them. The reason I would recommend having a backing for a mirror or something like this, if you do it this way, the old school way with the panel pins, you can damage the back of your mirror. This also helps if your mirror breaks, the glass can't fall out backwards. Well, seeing as this is no good in my workshop, let's put on some hangers here, get her in her final place. Now I'm just eyeballing this. This one I'm going to hang off one point. As long as it's below the centre, we should be good. So I have these handy dandy hooks. Now I'm just using my bradawl here to create a pilot hole for these short screws. I'm just using 12mm screws here to hold this in place. And then I'll just screw it in by hand, because like this is, as I said, this is foam, and if I went to power drill this in, it'd just rip it out immediately. And for our hanging rope, again I'm going a little bit old school, and I'm using just a cotton rope doubled up. The idea behind this is that if one strand breaks, the other will support it. Of course, you could use a more modern wire to do this, but this is a very light mirror and there'll be no issue in this case. Beautiful. Oh, the mirror of me. So, thank you as always for staying to the end of the video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe and all that fun stuff. And absolutely do try this at home.